So you've driven the 6R4 for the first time today. How did you find it compared to what you was sort of expecting?
Yeah, it's what an experience. First, I've waited a long time, close on 27 years to have a chance behind the wheel of a 6R4. So it blew me away. An awesome piece of kit. Very, I would say, ignorant for want of a better word, but that's what I remember. I grew up with the smell and the ambience, and been around these cars for so many years with my dad, and I would say a dream come true to finally get to drive one today.
Would you say that, does it surprise you that a car that you've enjoyed so much driving today, does it surprise you that it's actually a 30-year plus old car, and does it make you sort of appreciate why Group B was banned? Or
yeah, it does. They're a difficult car to drive, and they can, on a track like this you can enjoy it and you can slide around a bit, and it's good fun, but I could only imagine with the power that they have back then, the bigger cars, the bigger engines, how difficult it would have been to try and drive these cars, on some of the narrower rallies like Corsica, San Remo, and just to try and manage all the power. It's given me a newfound appreciation for what the guys had to put up with back then, and even though the new generation of rally cars this year, people are trying to compare them to Group B, I think it'll never come close.
Would you be sort of interested in owning one yourself in the future at all, and doing sort of a couple of local club rallies round by you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I grew up. They completely took over my life for a long number of years. I followed my dad around, and even sitting the smell, everything is really. It brings back. It was where my love for my now career came from. So, of course, I really dream of one day owning one again. I'd love to own one of my dad's old cars that he had in the past. Whether that's feasible or not, I don't know. But I know definitely it's on the bucket list to have a car and try and bring back all those memories. shaped me and who I am really, all those years ago.
When you're saying about how it surprised you with the way that the car was, in like what way and sensations with like the accelerating, braking, can you sort of like explain a bit more about the sensations of driving the car?
Yeah, it's okay. At the end of the day, it's 30-year-old technology, so the braking was it was better than what I expected. My dad always said that it was one of the best cars that he had. It was the quickest car he ever had to stop. It was a code he always used. So, I'm coming from a complete other end of the scale. The technology that's available now for brakes and whatnot is far superior. But I was still quite impressed with the braking power. But it's more with the diffs. How can I say, sensitive the diffs are, and the car can snap quite easily, and on a controlled track to this, when you can have a bit of room to play, it's really, really nice. But I can't imagine how difficult it would be on a narrow road or a bumpy road back at home. And but they are so much fun, and when the tail does come out, it's quite progressive and you can feel it, and it's a newfound love, confirmed, let's say, on what I've seen on the ditches over all the years. It just brings back all the memories.
So, Mark, you brought your Astra 4S with us all today. Can you just give us a bit of a brief sort of history of the car and the spec of it?
Yeah, sure. It was built sort of early to mid '86. Competed once on the Audi National Rally, came fourth overall, and then obviously it got scrapped. The Group B got scrapped, and it's got sat in a shed for 15 years or something like that. Heritage Centre bought it in 2000, had it restored, and then did the odd little bit and bob, a few hill climbs and bits, and then they sold it about 3 years ago now to a private individual, and I bought it off him 2 years ago. So it's I've not done much with it, to be fair. But it's running about 330 brake horsepower. It's just got a few issues that want sorting out, and then I'll be happy with it. But it runs all right. It's okay. Yeah.
How did you find it running on the track today? All right.
Yeah, I only potted round, so it's all right. It's running lovely, so I've got no complaints really. I just don't want to push it at the moment. But no, it runs well. It's got plenty of grip, and I'm sure if somebody who could drive properly, it'd look quite good.
And how does it feel, sort of owning such a rare rally car, but especially like a Group B? A prototype sort of.
It's weird, if I'm honest. Still, every time it's in my garage most of the time, and I go fetch a beer every now and again, and I have a look in it, and I still can't believe I got it. Really, I was, it was going on for trying to buy it for 3 months or so, and I kept thinking he'd back out every day, and so I was quite surprised when I got it. But yeah, it's a weird thing, because there's only 3 left. They only made 4, and I really don't want to tip it on its roof, or it is a bit of history, I suppose. And, yeah.
So, just wondering if you could just give us a bit of a brief history of your car and its spec.
Yeah, it's a Clubman 300 spec, so underneath the stickers it's basically how it rolled out of Longbridge 30 odd years ago. It's number 217 out of, we think, of about 220 cars, so essentially bog standard spec, just with a few safety modifications to allow us to do some demonstration runs. We'll put extinguishers in and things, but we've kept it as original as we can. The history of the car is it was one of the 200 odd homologation cars, one of the 150 odd that wasn't sold when Group B was banned, that suddenly didn't have a home. An American chap saw or heard that these cars were for sale for a much reduced price, bought it as a bit of a toy, took it back to the States, and it stayed there for 21 years. Couldn't really do an awful lot because there was nothing really to compare it with, nothing for it to compete against. So it ended up spending most of its time as a pace car at historic MG events. So it's never done any serious racing, certainly never done any rallying. And even now it only does these fairly gentle demonstration runs, but it's a great chance just to blow the cobwebs off the car and off the driver as well.
And how have you found it today, taking the car out?
It's been brilliant. There's always something. Maybe it's just my cars, but I always find there's something not quite right. Today I'm moaning about gear change, but I think it's more driver than car, to be to be honest. So my strategy for overcoming that is I've stopped changing gear. I go from first, second into third, and that's about it. But on a track that's as twisty and tight as this, you can get away with that. Just let it rev on a bit longer. But it's performing great. Everyone's getting out of the car with a big smile on their face, and that's it. It's job done. That's what these cars do. They just put such a grin on your face. They're fabulous, including mine.
And like, you've owned your 6R4 for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
Still got plans to keep it for years to come and still use it at demo events?
You'd get two different answers. One if you ask me, one if you ask my wife. I certainly plan to keep it. It was my dream to get one. Nick, you know the story. I went out on a limb to get one this isn't money sat in the bank. This was a big bank loan, and I had to work the overtime and the night shift and go on call and all sorts of things to be able to pay that back. But it was worth every one of those sleepless nights. And we're just about there now. The bank loan's just about done. I got it at a good time. About 9 years ago, there was a bit of a lull in the market, and buying it from America as well. We had a good exchange rate. So I've got to be honest, I couldn't have got one if I didn't do it when I did, so I could never regret that. My wife, she's slowly warming to it, but she sees the sort of value of 6R4s as house extensions and summer holidays, or she calls it her villa in France. So when I peg it, it'll be on eBay the same day. Probably.
Well, thanks so much for bringing it today, Gary.
You're welcome, and thank you for organising this. It's just a pleasure. You know, we're limited as to where we can use these original standard cars. So if people like yourselves didn't organise these events, to sit in a dusty garage somewhere, and that's not what these are all about.
So I just wonder if you can just tell us a bit about the history of your RS200, Nigel.
This one was built to do the Paris-Dakar. It was built by Ted Tolman, or commissioned by Ted Tolman. It's got a bigger roll cage in, and it's got a couple of other modifications. But then they canned the project, and then it went to one of the rallycross people who had it as a set of parts. And then it was built up, mostly built up before I had it, and I finished building it.
And have you done many events with it since you've owned it, or?
Yeah, it's the one I tend to take abroad. So you'll probably see all the stickers on it. I mean, this year I've been to Spain. I'm going to Germany next week to Eiffel Rally. Then I'm going to France, and then I'm going to Portugal at the end of the year. So I take this abroad a lot. I mean, they go wild over it because they never see an RS200 abroad, so they just love them.
And because you own like a Focus World Rally car, how much different is it? Even though you got like the amount of years in like comparison, like gap in between them.
Cheese.
Yeah.
This is so raw. Everything, whereas with the Focus, everything is electronics and control, but this is very raw. But it's very satisfying when you get it right. It's not as quick as the Focus, obviously, but it's it's very raw and it's quite satisfying when it all goes right.
And have you got any other plans with the car in the future?
No, I've got another. I've got an ex rallycross car which I'm almost finished building now, which has got 650 horsepower, and I'm hoping to get that out.
Was that the Gary Baker?
It's the ex Gary Baker one. That's right. Yeah, so it's the ex Gary Baker rallycross car.
Yeah.
So that,
when that one's all built up, will you think about using that more? And
probably, yes. Although this one served me very well. I think because it's not a huge amount of horsepower, it's only 300, so it's quite reliable because it's got an Evolution engine in, so it's quite reliable. They were built to do 600, 700 horsepower. So, yeah, I quite like this one because it all just works.
And how have you found it today? Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, it's been a good day. You've done a grand job, Nicky. Yeah, grand job, yeah. I'm glad you let us foreigners with these other RS200s in, you know.
So Tony, you brought your Renault 5 Turbo 2 to Curborough today. Can you just give us a bit of a brief history of the car and what you've done since you've owned it?
Yeah, okay. Well, I bought it in 2012. It was a road car which needed some restoration work. Once I started to strip it down, I just decided that, I primarily was going to use it for sprints, hill climbs, maybe eventually some tarmac rallying. So I decided to sort of build it with sort of not necessarily Group 4 homologation, but make sure everything was compliant for Group 4 in the future. So that took a couple of years. We've been, chasing teething problems, and there's never an end to it. But, we're pretty much in a good place now. This car's running reliably and, pleased with it.
And how have you found today? Taking it on track, you enjoyed it?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, it's first time here. It's really good layout. It's great for these types of cars. So, it can bring the best out in these cars. So it's a really good venue, and it's been a fascinating, where do you see this? Yeah. All these cars together, it's quite incredible. So it's been great, yeah.
Have you got any more plans to do with the car, any more events or...?
Yeah, I've got some more events lined up this year. We're going to probably do a hill climb in France, which is one on public roads, closed public roads, which is much faster than the traditional ones that you see over here. So I'm going to do that, and then some more work for the car over the winter. We're putting the Tour de Course wide track front end on it. We're not currently running an LSD. They didn't have an LSD as standard, which is quite frustrating and obviously essential. So I need to put an LSD in it. But yeah, so I mean, it's forever, you're chasing improvements. So, so it's going to, it's good. And we're off down to the south of France, actually. We're going to go and see one of the Peter Auto classic events. I'm actually going to drive down. So there's a bit of a crowd of us going down, all interesting cars. So we're looking forward to that in October.
Great stuff. And thank you very much for joining us all today.
I really appreciate the invite. It's been fantastic. As I said, it's amazing to see and everyone's so friendly. So I mean, that's the other thing. So it's been good to meet a lot of like-minded people and people passionate about this era of rallying. Which really has never been replaced. But it's great to see these cars being driven properly.
So David, you've brought your 6R4 here today. Can you just tell us a bit about the history of it?
Yeah, the car was originally owned by Alistair Braley from Scotland, and it's quite unique in that it was one of the few, if not the only, 6R4 that had superchargers fitted to it. So it's run by a company called Sprintex Superchargers, and they used it sort of as a demonstration and a sort of advert for the company, and obviously put twin superchargers on. But the issue was that it needed a lot more development really to run the car, and it was sort of not particularly reliable in terms of events that it went on. Then it went on to a couple of father and son that did sprints and hill climbs with the car, and then that was probably it for about 15 years, and it was kept one of these barn store cars, and then it got sold and the engine was removed and fitted to another 6R4, and then I bought the car, and then it was then fitted. It's got one of the few V62 engines, the prototype development engines, fitted to the car, and we sort of had a rebuild for it, built the engine back up, and we've put throttle bodies on it, so it's a bit more reliable than when it had the carburetors on. And obviously we take it to events such as like what Nicky organises, which is really good, to take it out on, so demonstration events and sort of static car shows.
Great stuff. And have you enjoyed yourself today?
It's been fantastic, it's really good. The atmosphere's great, everybody in the event, everything's relaxed, you get a chance to speak to everybody. I think the only thing that you could say is a down one, and it's just not long enough today, is it? You know, you need to be here from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night to actually really appreciate it and get to chat to everybody. So you just keep missing everybody to actually go through. But no, fantastic, really good organising of the event, Nikki and Dan supported it. But yeah, it's brilliant.
Great
Love
stuff.
doing it.
And is there anything else that you've got planned with the car for the future? Or?
We've got the next event is the end of July, so that's a Cheshire Motor Show, so that's a local event to us. So I'll be taking that, hopefully take my dad along to that. And then we've got another event in August, and then we're hoping to take it on Rally Wales GB to the Rally Village one, so that's the end of October. So yeah, the events that we got planned for it.
brought along this very rare Group B prototype. Can you just give us a bit more information about it?
Yeah, this is a very rare RS 1700T. one of Mick Jones' cars that went actually out to South Africa and rallied. Out of 18 prototypes, this is the very last one, prototype 18. It's a rear-wheel drive competition car funded by Ford. Their first attempt at building a Group B car. 1780cc BDT, turbocharged, with a Hewland transaxle in back, 5-speed, straight cut box in this one. So we brought it along today to do a test, because we want to take it to Eiffel Rally next week and do a shakedown on it. It's been restored since 2009 to get it to this stage, and we're still having a few problems with it, but I think we're finally getting to the end of it now. The car actually handles extremely well. Mick Jones did a really good job with it. It's probably the closest thing to a road legal go-kart I've ever come across. It's just a shame that we don't get any more than like 3,500 revs, which is really holding it back. It's a shame for us, and it's a shame for everybody that's come to see it today. Out of the 2 rally cars that were actually sent out to South Africa, this is the only one that's sort of complete in this South African spec. The one that's in America, the sister car, has actually been changed back into sort of a UK spec vehicle, which is not the same as this. There's 5 vehicles left. What can you say? It's probably one of the most rare Fords that you're ever going to actually meet. I just hope that everybody that's actually seen it today can sort of put to the side that it didn't actually perform as it should have done, but actually see some rare piece of motorsport history there. I just hope everybody's enjoyed it.
Yeah, they definitely have. It's that's what the event's about, sort of like-minded enthusiasts from that particular era, seeing such rare cars. And have you found the event today yourself?
Absolutely brilliant. To be invited down to come and see such an event is, it's something really special. The amount of time and effort that goes into actually, doing sort of an event like this is absolutely brilliant. So to be invited down, I just can't thank you enough. Really, really nice. Thank you. I'd love to come again.
Okay, so this car was originally run in the UK by Steve Harris, ran it in a Metro Challenge and national rallies in the UK and Birmingham Super Prix. It then went to Spain for 10 years, hill climbing and tarmac rallying, and then into Scotland where it's been forest rallied and generally been used to the best of its abilities. I bought it in 2015. It just finished the Snowman Rally at that point, and I've just been running it for track days and Group B demonstrations and passenger rides and things like that.
And you're obviously a big part of 6R4.net. How's it gone today?
Yeah, I think it's been a great day today. You know, we didn't have as many cars as we hoped because, you know, we like to give a really full field. But actually, in the end, you know, the track's been full all the time. We've got some awesome cars here, awesome drivers. You know, Craig taking this car out and really showing everybody what a World Rally driver can do. It's been a fantastic day.
Any more plans for the year?
Yeah, I'm out again next weekend at Alton Park, and then Rally Day in September down at Castle Combe. This is my third event of the year, and I've got those two, and then possibly one more as well. So that's about enough then.
So this has been 3 years on a row now for this Trackday. Are we going to have a fourth?
I don't know. I mean, you know, it's always one of those things. It's a lot of work building up to it, but it's always such a fantastic day that, you know, I wouldn't rule it out. While people want it and people are coming in and enjoying it and having a great day, then I don't see a reason not to.
Nicky, on behalf of all the drivers, passengers, guests today, thanks for making it possible.
Oh, thank you.
A little soft drink for you to enjoy this evening.
I better not drop it now.
You're
Thanks
welcome,
so
mate.
much.
Thanks very much for all your work.
That's no problem. Pleasure. Cheers. Thank you.